We do things like songs that are a little, what we call sexy. You can see from the title, it's more of a love album.
All right, welcome to another week of Manversations 2020. Oh, so hold on, everybody. Okay, there we go. All right, another week of Manversations 2020, man. We appreciate everybody tuning in this week. Definitely have a great show for tonight. I know you guys are gonna dig it. We're gonna talk about entitlement, as you guys can see. A lot of people are entitled in different aspects of our lives. We have entitlement that we deal with through our jobs. We have entitlement that we deal with through our relationships. We have entitlement that we deal through society, whether it's political entitlement from our political leaders and political heads. They have also a form of entitlement. We have entitlement at our jobs, systematic racism with our bosses. There's entitlement in that position as well. So we're definitely going to talk about the different areas of entitlement tonight. Give you some visuals so you can understand why it is very important to get the entitlement, energy, and ego out of our system, no matter what position you play and whatever role you play in. That is something that is very detrimental to society and towards any relationship that you encounter, whether it's friends, family, lovers, or even business relationships. That is something that has to be out of your system, and avoid people who have those type of entitlement tendencies and behaviors. Because one thing you know about entitled people, if they don't get their way, they feel like they should get their way. If they don't get it, they become very violent and aggressive towards you, and it can a situation so simple and minute can go all the way left. So you definitely want to stay out of that energy and that zone of those people. And sometimes those energies can be fatal. We're definitely going to show you an incident where that went all the way left and it ended up being fatal because of the entitlement. All right. So with that being said, let's get our stuff together. Definitely want to give a shout out to Bobby Drake. He's on here tonight. As you guys know, Major had took a trip from last week. So he's going to be out tonight. But shout out to Major. And we want to make sure he has a safe flight back, safe travels back home, just as well as he went safe going out there, him and his wife. So y'all make sure y'all pray for his safe return for tonight. And you guys will definitely see him next week. All right. Turn it over to you, Bobby Drake. You got something to say before we start up? Intriguing on entitlement.
Not too much. Glad to be with the family again. Always blessed to see another day, another week with everybody. Entitlement. Entitlement is definitely a blessing blocker, man. First and foremost, we live in a world where no one is entitled to anything. We're not even entitled to life. You got people who literally go to sleep and then they simply put "don't wake up." And there was a time when that used to be something that only happened with the older folks, the older heads. You reached a certain point and, it was just your time to go. But now we have children in the same state. They go to sleep and they don't wake up. Some organ or heart failure or something else, or sometimes doctors can't even figure out what the case may be. So everything we have, every breath we have, every bit of clothing we have, shelter we have, job we have, everything we have is a blessing. And when we understand that, when we appreciate that, it allows us to be more happy, more content, and more fulfilled. And it also opens us up to receive more blessings. But when you're entitled, when you think that, what you have is what you're supposed to have, and what you don't have is what you're also supposed to have, not only does that shut you off from a spiritual perspective, but also that's a turn off from other people as well, because they see that you're someone that will take what they do for you, what they give to you for granted. You also don't have a thankful perspective, because in your mind, someone isn't doing you a favor. They're not being kind to you. They're simply fulfilling an obligation to you, which means, if someone owes you money and they pay you up, you don't say thank you for the money. You say about damn time. So that mindset will burn bridges and it will cause people to withhold from you and to isolate you and keep you by yourself. And now you got to fend for yourself in this world where relationships are the order of the day. So entitlement is something that a lot of people tend to think of in a positive perspective. They're trying to boost their self-esteem, right? Or they're trying to boost their sense of self-worth. They feel like, everything I want is coming to me and everything. But you got to temper that with some realism and understand that what other people do for you is not vital. It's not a must. So you're not entitled to anything another person, another human being gives to you, not even your family. So whatever you do get, be humble, be appreciative, be grateful, and make sure you share and show that. Don't just sit there and quietly be Nah, you know, with the same energy that it was given to you, give that gratefulness right back, if not more so.
Yeah.
Right. But we're gonna get
Definitely.
in. We're gonna have some fire examples. We're gonna get more. We're gonna get deeper in the weeds with it. Stay tuned, and what you got to roll out for us?
So I want to lighten it up a little bit. I want to get people laughing, get them. This thing had me rolling, right? But it's funny, you know, looking at it from our perspective because we're the outside looking in. But from the inside looking out, you would be very hot if this happened to you. And I want to talk about entitlement when it comes to, like I said, all areas of life. And part of the entitlement is when you go out there and get services, right? So you can get a haircut. I know a lot of women out here having issues. We're going to definitely do a show about hairstylists. I have a couple of hairstylists lined up that we're going to bring on the show because I know in the hair industry, it's getting a little ridiculous with the prices and the list of do's and don'ts and what you have to pre-wash your hair before you come, where it's going to be an extra charge. So I understand, you know, there's a lot of rules in it as well. But on the consumer side, when you are listing all of these things that you want the consumer to do before they get to the salon, as a stylist, you got your checklist. Fine. You have the consumer that's going to check the boxes on your checklist to make sure that you're good, they're reaching your standards. But what we don't talk about is that when you have somebody that is checking off the box and is okay with what you got going on, it is the blatant disrespect of the lack of effort, whether it's on giving the services and it's not A1 hair job that you did. It came out janky. It probably didn't look like the picture that the customer gave you, and you did your own thing. And then the entitlement of it is that knowing you messed up, you don't want to fix it, or you don't want to take a large discount off and say, you know what, my bad, here's a discount for it. I apologize. No, you like, hey, you won't have to pay me my money, even if the client and the customer is not satisfied. And I think that is a huge entitlement issue that we face on a daily basis, whether you're a man, a woman, whatever the case may be. There is some form of business that you exchange money and you didn't get what you paid for. And then instead of them apologizing and fixing it, they have an entitlement attitude towards you. And they feel like you should pay them. And now it's an insult because you're asking for a discount because it didn't come out the way you thought it was going to come out. So I want to show you guys this video just to give you a little enhance about what I'm talking about. So I got to run that back again. Hold on. That was hilarious. So y'all pay attention, right?
Ridiculous.
So as you guys can see, and I'm just going to rewind it back. I'm going to rewind it back to what you can see. All right, so right here, it says, I paid $500 for this. As you guys can see on the top, that's what the consumer wanted. They wanted Spider-Man. And I think this character was, I think it's called Spooderman. And you paid $500. And you guys know, as a tattoo artist or somebody that's getting tattooed, this is permanent. This is nothing that, if you have to do it, you have to, draw it out, draw over it, do a cover up. And that's extra crazy time and extra labor as well. And then it also doesn't look good because now you have a blotched dark spot and it's not going to highlight behind the visuals of what you're trying to get. So when he said I paid 500 for this, and man, I was laughing along with the puppets, man, because that was hilarious. I don't know what would you do if that happened to you, Drake?
Man, look, it's gonna be some furniture getting rearranged in that mug. That's all I'm saying. I see the messed up part about something like that too is because the nature of it, you know, the default response would be, okay, so you botched this up. He says, "Crap, that's Spider." Right, it's Spider Man, not Spider Man. But you know, to make good on that, I'd say, hey, you know what? Just go ahead and credit me a free tattoo up to a certain amount, like whatever the amount is, or double that, or whatever. But after that, I don't know if I want you to touch my skin again.
Yeah,
I don't want to do
exactly.
business in the shop again because I mean, you did that with this small thing. You might have me looking like a whole subway graffiti wall or something. I don't know. They can give the money back, but I mean, that's crazy. So, damned if you do, damned if you don't. But it's difficult being a customer with some service providers, but it's also difficult being a service provider with some customers. So, it's the nature of the beast. But whatever it is that you're trying to go out and get done with, it's tattoos or repairs, please, for the love of God, I would hope people do this, but please make sure you actually get reviews, get recommendations. If you see somebody with some really bomb tattoos, ask, hey man, where'd you get those done at? Who do you get your work? Who does your work? Do you know any good artists? Whatever. You know, no matter how technologically advanced we get, word of mouth is still the best there is. And if you do a good job for people, they're gonna put your name out there. So I can see your work. You know, I got people I know giving you props. Take a chance on that, man.
And you know, the weird part about it, if we talk about tattoos, the weird part about it is that we have kind of dusty dudes and dusty women that have some real weird or ratchet tattoos, like, and some of them be looking off the wall like prison tattoos, right? The artistry on it is just so low grade. And it's crazy, but a lot of times, especially with dusty dudes, they'll have these crazy tattoos on them, and women will engage with these dusty dudes. And you know, these are the dudes that's out here procreating, making a whole bunch of children, and you're like, why are you dealing with low energy dudes like that? When do you guys, when is it cool to reward dusty energy people with sexual pleasure? I don't get it. But I don't know, ladies, I'm pretty sure this guy has children, but we're definitely going to talk about, you know, the tattoo where a guy tattoos his lower body that says loner, right? So imagine you're having sex with this guy and you're looking at a tattoo below that says loner.
Wait. Time out. Hold on. That's his skin that says loner?
Yeah, that's the tattoo.
I thought this man had some ethical draws or some sweatpants. So
no, that's the tattoo. That's the tattoo that says loner. So if he takes off his boxes, you see loner, and this is what you're seeing, you know, and you can see that his whole body is marked up all type of ways. And you have women out there that has the same artistry as this dude too. Like I say, the dusty and low energy of it. But these are the guys that are running around that are procreating with these women. And I'm like, how do you women allow guys like this to procreate with them? You got to be on some low energy stuff to have your dude out here. You know, there's nothing, you know, it's a difference if you have like, say you have like a ankh, or you have like Egyptian, you know, gods on you or goddesses, you know, that's a little different. That's something that's inspirational. That's something that means something, you know. Imagine you are a man who is married now to a woman, and you have that tattoo on your lower body that says loner, and you're married. How dumb does that tattoo become now? You know what I'm saying? And what is the insecurities that go behind it with the wife? Now, you feel like you're a loner forever? Do you get it covered up and say, you know what, that was my past? Or do you keep it? You know what I'm saying? And then she feels like you might have down moments, because everybody have down moments in their relationships. You might have a down moment and she feels like she's in this marriage by herself. So she feel like, hey, you have a loner's mentality and we supposed to be together. You know, it's a long list of things that can be created just by you making some decisions short term that affect you in the long term. You know what I'm saying? And I just feel like collectively, we got to make better decisions as men. Um, I was talking to a couple of young dudes before, and I remember I was telling them I was at his house on 199th and 47th. And I was over there doing mentor work with my boy. Shout out to my boy, David. So I was doing mentor work with my boy, David, Save the Kids Foundation. And we went over there, and while I was over there, I was talking to the young kids in the building, and they were asking me about tattoos and goals in their mouth. And I said, I had goals in my mouth. I had an 8-pack to the bottom, right? And I was out here with an 8-pack to the bottom, but guess what? My goals were pullouts. So anytime I felt like I was tired of having goals in my mouth, I could pluck them out and throw them away, discard them. As you can see now, I don't have goals anymore. You know, that was a phase. That was a phase in my life, and that's why I tell the young adults, like, I'm not here to hinder you from being who you are and how to express yourself. I'm just going to tell you how to do it in the right way. And the same thing with the tattoos. I was telling them about what's his name, Trick Daddy, and I said, you know, Trick Daddy messed up a big bag because Trick Daddy had tattoos all on his body. This was before everybody, the Lil Waynes and everybody was getting facial tattoos and tattoos all over their body. You know, you're talking about the 90s, 2000s, right? And Trick Daddy had, when he came out, he had tattoos all on his arms and everything. And Polo, because, you know, if you listen to Trick Daddy, he always was giving Polo free advertising. Matter of fact, I think Trick Daddy is responsible for all of the polo wear down here in South Florida. Because every time you listen to Trick talk about polo, we was going out there to get polo. Because one of his songs was how that song go again? It was
about
like,
shut up. Yeah,
shut up, right? He's like,
hey, now, ho, you know they polo.
Yeah, exactly, right? So you would wear that, and then you play the song, and then you would sit back and be animated with the song because you had on polo, right? And I told him, I said, you know, he lost a big bag because, as you guys know, Ralph Lauren and all these other, the Tommy Hilfigers, these major white corporations with these white heads really cater towards their own people, but they love money regardless of where it comes from. So even though he had a big pulling with Trick Daddy, and Trick Daddy was putting money in his pockets, he wanted to advertise with Trick, but the thing about it is Trick had tattoos, and that's what I heard the story was. Trick had tattoos that were not hidden. So as you know, polos have short sleeves, right? So those were the hot polos, were the short sleeve polos, not the long ones, you know, because we don't, down here in South Florida, we don't do wintertime like that. But we had the short sleeve polos. And then, so to put on that, he would expose his forearms that were tatted up. And that was at that time in the early, you know, in our early eras, they weren't comfortable enough to sit back and advertise Black people in that thug-like image, wearing their outfits. You know, that wasn't something that was marketable. So I told the children, I said, look, I don't have any problems with you guys getting tattoos. Just do it smart. If you're gonna get a tattoo, make sure you get it where you can hide it. Like you could get a tattoo up here on your forearm, on the side of your arm, and then you have your shirt that over and cover it. You can get tattoos on your chest. You can get a tattoo on your back, because at the end of the day, once you pull the shirt over, everything is covered, you know. And they were like, "Yo, that's smart." And I was not condemning them. And that's one thing, when you talk to the youth, they don't want you to condemn them like that. You get more out of them when you give them solutions to what they want to do, and do it in the right way, versus saying, "Oh no, you're a bad person and you shouldn't have that, and thugs have tattoos and all this other stuff," and you discourage them, and they're going to go out and go do it, and then do it the wrong way. So I was always teaching them how to do it in the right way, and it ended up being beneficial to them, because I ran into a couple of them, three of them that I talked to. They got out of the game. They were no longer Crips. Three of them were members of the Crip while they were in the facility, and after talking to them, they got out of the game and they changed their lives, because
That's what's up.
I came up there with my dreads, and just looking like a regular person that looked like them, and the knowledge I was just giving them, they was like, "Yo, I could be like that too. I can have the knowledge and still look the way I look. It's how you carry yourself, how you conduct yourself." And they grasped onto that. They picked up on that, and they're doing fine for themselves now. So like I say, everybody doesn't understand that you don't need to be this big, impactful leader on the masses. Just be impactful for the people that surround you. And trust me, just doing that in itself will have major impact on the masses later on down the road. Because now I took three individuals that were gangbanging, taking them off. Now you have three individuals that's not terrorizing everyday people, robbing, stealing, or causing harm, or affecting somebody in a negative way that would make them fall into hard times as well. So already I just broke a chain reaction of bad things to happen by converting three guys over back on the right side of the track. So just those small victories is huge on a mass level. So,
Yeah.
I just try to tell people that's what you need to do, and that's the direction you need to go.
No, that's absolutely correct, man. And to be honest, it's one thing to aspire to be a leader on a big scale. What's going on, Miller? Blessings, blessings. And it's one thing to aspire to be a leader on a big scale, but you don't understand. To get to a point where you have a wide following, you have a whole lot of eyeballs on you. In most cases, you have to make a lot of sacrifices to get to that point. A lot of compromises. So because you have to understand, when we don't have or control access, when we have to go through other people to get to certain places, everything is quid pro quo. It's give something to get something. These people aren't going to just go ahead and let you get up on their platforms, use their resources and their outlets, whatever, just from the kindness and goodness of their hearts. "Oh, you're such a good person. I'm going to let you go ahead and have free airtime so you can go." It don't work like that. For a number of reasons, for some sinister reasons, well, too. But in a lot of cases, these things have a monetary cost to it as well, because electricity ain't free, internet ain't free, materials and the cameras and microphones, whatever, even print, if it's in paper, whatever, paper isn't free. Everything has a price tag to it, so you got to offset some costs, and you might be able to look the other way on some things, but not on other things. And that's just in that perspective. Now, in terms of what people want you to do in other ways, to bow down and kiss the ring, what have you, that's a different story. And by the time you get to a point where you're able to get on that platform, you've probably done so many things that have taken you off your path. You've probably come along and said yes to so many things you should have said no to, that when it's time for you to go and make your presence, to make your impact felt, you're unrelatable at that point in time. There's too much dirt on you, so you can't speak freely. Or people who know you and know the deal know that you ain't really about what you're talking about. And so it's just very hard to move like that. But when you're at a smaller local level, you're just trying to reach the people around you. You don't have to worry about dealing with all that red tape and bureaucracy. You can just get to it. You can just serve the people, meet the people where they are. They see like you're an everyday person just like them. There's nothing special about you. There's nothing extraordinary about you, but you're just like them. same backgrounds, same locations, same hardships, and you found a way out, and you didn't have to do anything superhuman. You didn't have to be one out of however many million of people trying to play for a sports team or to get a contract or whatever. Just by being a regular everyday person, you found your own way, and you're showing these kids, these young people, these people who don't feel like they have any other options or any alternatives. You're showing them, hey, you can get out, and yeah, you can do it that supernatural way. That's a big deal. But you don't also have to go that way. There's another way that you can go that's a lot more accessible. It's a lot easier. Look at me. I did it. I don't have any contract. I don't have any 6 figures or 7-figure deals behind me. So that's going to go a long way as well too, because we aspire to be like what we see. A lot of people, a lot of our youth, they don't see a whole bunch of success stories. A lot of them don't have many success stories in their families. They see their mom, their dad, their uncle, whoever, work regular 9 to 5s. We're not knocking that in the slightest. But they work jobs that might be just okay to get by, but nothing else. And for them, in order to escape and have better, you have to do something crazy limited that only a select handful of people can pull off. The people who are able to do it without having to go to those lengths, they don't bump into those as often. So for them, it's more likely to go ahead and make it big by getting to the NFL, getting a record deal, going to Hollywood and becoming some actor than it is for becoming an attorney or becoming an IT engineer or even being a truck driver with a CDL or being a tradesman, a tradeswoman. So we need these people to be more accessible and to be open to exposing these people to these other ways of making it and doing something successful where they can achieve their goals and dreams. That yes, you can successfully provide for a family without worrying. Yes, you can live in a nice, decent neighborhood where you don't have to worry about high crime. Yes, you can get to a point where you're not constantly worrying about how bills are going to get paid and having debt collectors at your door or whatever. Yes, you can drive a halfway decent car or even a luxury car, and you don't have to sell drugs or sell your body to get access to it. It happens. But if we don't have these examples before us to talk and make it plain and real to us, then you're left with what you're left with.
Correct. Definitely. So, like I say, we have so many different areas that are engaged into entitled behavior. So we're giving you different realms and different varieties of different areas of aspects of life that has that. I definitely want to get off into our featured topic, which is our Trendly Weekly Topics, right? So with our Trendly Weekly Topics, I want to get into this killer that we had. When we talk about white supremacy, systematical racism, white folks, especially young white males, are very entitled. They go out there and they do what they feel like they need to do on behalf of their race, their family, and to be, quote unquote, the hero within their community because they executed somebody from another race, or they went out and did something to show that they are aligned with the mission of the masses. So we had this killer that the Buffalo killer that ended up murdering the black engineer who created a vehicle that was powered by water. But they made it seem like it was a random act of violence. They wrote on, I think on the gun, they had it where it was something about Nazis and KKKs. And I think they just wanted to basically do a lot of fear mongering on the racist side to take away from the fact that this was pretty much, I believe, was a planned out attack on the brother who was about to change the game. Because as you guys can see, everything was about to go electric and they wanted to go electric. The whole government was trying to force us to go electric. And you guys seen recently with all the bad weather, the cold weather that was up north, all the electric stations were frozen. Cars
Hmm.
weren't being able to charge themselves electrically for like 3 hours. Some cars were dead because it just was not warm enough for the electrical charge to charge back in those electrical cars. So the owners had to leave a lot of the vehicles behind. And can you imagine, they had one guy who came from Tennessee, and I forgot where he ended up at, but he was 6 hours away from where he needed to be. And he had to get his car towed all the way 6 hours. You know how
Yep.
expensive that is? And the thing about it is a white man, and a lot of times economically, because the wealth gap is so far apart from whites and blacks, that he was able to do that. But imagine the everyday black person who would have had an electrical car, wouldn't be able to probably take that journey on that very expensive ride to get their car up out of that situation. You know, these are the things that we don't talk about on a mass level, but here on Manifestations, we dial down and we talk about the elephant in the room. We don't walk around it. We identify it and address it. So this killer uh, did what he did, act like he had no remorse in what he did, and then all of a sudden he had to go to court, and this is what he looked like in court. So now you have the white boy tears, sad, as you could see, there's snot and everything like that when they started telling him his sentence, you know, um, and it wasn't out in his favor. See, everything seems good and dandy. You feel like you're protected by your skin color, and that's not true. Sometimes you have to be what they say, the sacrificial lamb. And in your case,
Yep.
they're not going to let you go. They let you be the sacrificial lamb. You did what you did. That was a win for them, but you have to be sacrificing in it for the long run. You didn't get no legacy out of it or nothing like that. You're just right up there with Dylan Roof, and it's a sad reality, but a lot of these white folks be entitled. And this is one of them that the entitlement came back and bit him in the butt. You wanted to say anything about that before I move on?
It bees like that. White supremacy is a very intelligent organism, and it's been able to thrive for as long as it has because it's been able to move so efficiently and effectively.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I just want to touch on what you said before about, or at least your theory about what was really going on with the whole shooting and everything.
Mm-hmm.
That might sound far out to some people, but you really don't understand the way that our government works. And the thing is, a lot of these things are actually revealed.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Hollyweird, and not just Hollyweird, but in the entertainment industry, period, which includes also books and writing, a lot of these things are well laid out. If you talk to some of these top level legendary authors like your Dan Baldacci's, your Tom Clancy's, your Robert Ludlum's, the guys who do like the Jack Reacher series,
Mm-hmm.
um, the the Jason Bourne series, and all those and everything. If
Yeah.
you talk to them, one of the reasons why a lot of their books seem so real and they're so popular is they'll tell you when they go and write their books, they don't just sit back on the blackboard and start writing and just start typing on their map books or whatever. They do research on
Mm-hmm.
their writings. It doesn't matter if it's fiction, if they're writing a spy thriller, if they're writing a military style adventure novel, whatever. They actually do research because if your writing isn't believable, it's not going to engage people.
True.
And they'll tell you they go and talk to retired Navy SEALs. They talk to Air Force paratroopers. They talk to people that served in the Mossad, in the British SAS, whatever. They go and they get information and they get details. Hey, does this sound authentic? And they'll do correction and they'll be like, no, 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 this wouldn't happen in this kind of setup. And in some cases, they'll even use some information where they pull names and specific details, but they'll even use operations that have happened before to kind of help put in there and make the writing more realistic. And so, like, wow, that's
Mm-hmm.
crazy. I can't tell you how many times I've read a novel or seen a movie where a plot like that happens, or even on TV where they'll have a killer, what have you, who does this random mass shooting, like in a mall or something, whatever, and they'll say, 10 people were killed. Thank God there was a quick response. And it wasn't really a mass shooting. They were trying to take out a scientist or a reporter that was about to drop some information, but they did it in a way to make it look random. So they'll pop two innocent people, then they'll get the real target, then the rest will be all over the place to kind of confuse whatever. And that's old stuff.
Yeah.
Those are old basic things. So if a writer in Kentucky or New Hampshire, someplace, sitting on his porch, whatever, is writing stories like this, you know that this is something that's been done probably countless times in America, overseas, in different places, all the time. So the idea that someone who's doing something that the government, for one reason or another, believes is going to be detrimental or have a huge negative impact to their bottom line needs to be, they need to fix the issue. Happens all the time. They tell you that it's crazy that they do these things, but what happened when we found out about the deal with Gaddafi and his assassination?
Correct.
Before then, oh, that's crazy. They never do something. Here go the documents right here.
Yep.
30 years later, people find out that LSD is being tested on random citizens and stuff and all kind of stuff. So these people aren't clean. They do dirty things all the time. It's highly plausible.
Exactly.
And they'll definitely sacrifice somebody. They'll get some young person's compromised or who stands to take a big L and say, hey, if you do you scratch our back, we'll scratch yours. And then they go and do the deed. And then when they're expecting, hey, you gonna bail me out? Nope.
Yeah.
Throw the book at
Exactly.
So this is everyday life, bro. This happens on a large scale, and because we're regular civilians, most of the stuff will never reach our ears, will never reach our eyes. But these things happen all the time. They're not spending these billions and trillions of dollars on security and defense and everything just because they're bored or just so they can look at board games, bro.
Correct. So I definitely want to pivot over to the political part because we're talking about the government now. Great way to segue into the government as far as the political entitlement. As you guys can see, there's a lot of things going on right now, and it's a lot of political entitlement that's going on. One of the entitlements that's going on right now with the Democratic Party is the Democratic Party is basically allowing all these immigrants to come in and flood the U.S. And that's done by design because Black folks, especially foundational Black folks, they're not going out there to vote without any tangibles on the ballot. So they notice, like Bobby said, these people do research, and they notice that the numbers have plummeted because Black folks are waking up now. Black folks understand that when I'm giving you a vote or am I going to vote, I need something tangible in return, not the symbolic things that we've been doing for the last century. So all of that doesn't work anymore, So now that they have that in place, they want these immigrants to come over to basically bribe them to vote in their favor to help them win the election. Because, quote unquote, the Democratic Party is very contingent on Black votes, even though they tell you that they're not, but they are. They're very contingent on Black votes. So they have to make up the mass loss, and that's what they do. They bring these immigrants in. Now they sit back and they tell you, like Eric Adams up in New York and all these other mayors in different cities, that's telling you to house the immigrants, let them stay with you and your family and everything like that, and just do it on the love and on the strength of being an American, having empathy. But at the end of the day, the U.S. citizens are the ones that's being forced out of their situations, out of their livelihood, getting readjusted without being compensated in return for it, And then you have stories about a lot of these immigrants are coming in and robbing and stealing and doing some crazy, crazy things. you know. And the thing about it is when that happens, they're unaccounted for because they're not registered in the system. Remember, they're basically ghost walkers because nobody knows who they are. They're coming from another country, so they're not documented inside of the US. So they're pretty much free for all to do anything, because if they jump in a car right now and wreck the car, and then they jump out the car and leave the car, nobody knows who is driving because they're not registered in this system. You know, they don't have a driver's license or anything like that. And guess what? The person who got hit, they're going to be shit out of luck, you know, and that's what happens. So um, in this report, they saying NYC students forced to stay home after migrants took over their school gym used as a shelter. And as you guys know, the homeschooling system is not a system that is proof, right? It's not 100% proof as far as getting education the same way as you do when you go to a school. There's none of that. So a lot of these children are going to be they're going to feel the effects of this, um, because they're not going to be able to be in a hands-on environment with the teacher. Everything is going to be over Zoom. And as you know, a lot of people don't have great connection. Um, a lot of times when people don't work good at home, a lot of our children, they'll be distracted at home. They feel too comfortable in their environment, and they're going to be lackadaisy when it comes to working and doing studies and stuff like that. That also puts an extra strain on the parents, because now your child is home and you might not have a babysitter, and you have to go out there and now have to rearrange your schedule to probably adapt to your child being home. Or you're going to have to come up with different arrangements, maybe a friend or family that can help you out with the child during that time, you know. And right now, where the economy and everything is so tight, you know, it's a strain. So this is a huge, huge issue that I feel like the government is just using their entitled power to force this on everyday people that didn't ask for this in the first place. You know, there's a lot of entitlement coming from the political party. Here's another one where this just goes to show you that, you know, not one single Democrat voted for to secure the border. As you guys can see, we're not just talking, this is actual facts. You know, 219 and 2 nays. And then you had two of the 221 Republicans, 2 of them didn't agree with it. But when it came to the Democrats, you had 211, and all of them said no to it, right? So they didn't want to secure the border. But you had 2 Republicans that said, you know, they, along with the Democrats, didn't agree with the border. But they had no efforts to say, no, we don't want to do that. Give our people that's here a little bit more protection and find a way how we can get these immigrants here legally and not illegally. That puts a stressful burden on our people. That is another political entitlement. The last political entitlement is the RFK Jr., as you guys know, John F. K. Jr., right? Robert Kennedy Jr., right? So defends Kennedy administration wiretap on Martin Luther King. So here it is that you guys, you know, a lot of people don't understand why this is another reason why the Black folks are leaving the Democratic Party. These people just feel entitled because they have a legacy with our elders and our generational leaders before us, that they either march with them or walk with them, and they feel entitled to say whatever they need to say, and never in the benefit of Black folks. The same thing with Bernie. Bernie Sanders said he walked with Dr. King, but yet he's the same one that's against reparations. You know, then you have this guy who is is trying to defend COINTELPRO, because that's what the wiretap was, COINTELPRO on Dr. King.
Yep.
That got him killed, with the Negroes, the Sambo Negroes around him that was setting him up by telling the government his movements that led to his untimely death. And he left behind a wife, a glorious wife, and 4 children. You know, these are the type of stuff that are set up, and these are the type of entitlements that end up being fatal to somebody in the long run. And I remember I asked that question earlier, that if the entitlement leads to some type of fatality, how bad is it? you know. So yes, these are the three that I wanted to highlight with the political entitlement. And I turn it over to you, Bobby Drake.
There was one other thing that I had meant to kick your way earlier. I didn't have a chance because I couldn't pull it up.
Yeah.
But in addition to that, what didn't get a whole lot of play, and it did in the right wing circles, and even though I advise people to tread cautiously in those conservative circles because that's a very weird rabbit hole, but it's always useful to keep your ears to the ground on either side or in all the different sides because, broken cloud moments is still a thing. What was very quiet, and you haven't seen it on CNN or any of the mainstream news outlets, but quietly is kept. There's something that was put out recently, and which has come into law as of this year, which is House Bill 3751, House Bill 3751. And the significance of that is this is a new bill. Now, we know that for the longest time, the Democrats have been trying to get all sorts of perks and benefits for illegal immigrants in this country. And regardless of how you feel about that, the conservative Republicans have been doing a good bit to buck back and to push back against that. But there's a bill that was issued in Illinois, the state legislature, House Bill 3751. And basically, to summarize it, it allows those who are illegal immigrants, the technical terminology is eligible non-U.S. citizens in Illinois to become police officers. So this is an illegal immigrant. This is someone who they might have a work visa, but this is still very much a person who is not of the country, ignorant in a lot of cases of the cultures, the back issues, really not part of the communities that they're in. In many cases, they have other ties elsewhere because, a lot of people that come over here with work visas, primarily they do that so they can provide for their families back home. So, their attention, their priorities aren't where they are. Their mind is back elsewhere. They have split loyalties. It's supposed to be the reason why those individuals are ineligible for running for office like presidency.
Correct.
But these people, right, are able to be in these communities, and this is in Illinois. But they're able to serve these communities and serve as law enforcement officers, as cops.
Correct.
And mind you, this is something that was allowed to happen in Illinois, home of Chicago. And this isn't a Republican state. This is a blue state. This is a liberal state.
Exactly.
So when you have Chicago and Illinois and a couple other places that have been known for the longest time as the default stereotypical mecca of all things black crime in this country, right? You know that you're going to have most of the law enforcement jobs and vacancies in those areas in Chicago, especially in the black areas, place where you might not have a whole lot of people willing to serve as police officers. You're going to have these people that have no ties to the community. Many of them, again, the funny thing is the Democrats have enabled this, but most of these illegal immigrants, they have conservative values and conservative ties. So they're going to be getting their opinions and information and knowledge about these areas from right-wing media. So that means they're going to have the same negative viewpoints and perspectives of the citizens they're supposed to be protecting and serving as individuals. You basically have a whole bunch of your Betty Shelby's, your Daniel Holtzclaws, your Daniel Pantaleos. Some of these names should sound more familiar than others, but these police officers who have unjustly murdered and terrorized black citizens extrajudicially, you can have a lot of these people who have these perspectives thinking that this kind of behavior is okay and justified working in these areas.
Yeah.
And this is going to be a huge blessing for them because when something inevitably goes wrong, they can stand back like they always do, take the hands-off approach and say, well, you can't blame this on racism. This wasn't a
Correct.
white officer. This was another minority.
Correct.
This is minority on minority crime that happened. And they can
Yep.
also, here's how wicked they are, this will also enable them to throw the book at these officers. They can do whatever they want. They can go ahead and throw them away for a bajillion years, even give them the death penalty for these murders if they want to, and say, well, see, we are taking the threat of police brutality serious. See how we threw the book at them? They're not going to touch the white officers.
Yeah.
But they will touch the ones from other places. Because remember what happened in Minnesota? You had Philando Castillo, right? Law-abiding.
I thought you were talking about
citizen.
Daniel Holzclaw.
No, not was he in Minnesota too?
I can't remember. I think he was up that way, if I'm not mistaken.
I think he was somewhere in the Midwest too. I don't know if it was Minnesota, but I know he was somewhere in that area. But you had almost cut and paste circumstance. What happened? You had Philando Castile, law-abiding citizen, who was in the car with his girlfriend, his fiance, and their child. Legal gun owner, had a concealed carry permit and everything. He had a license to carry his firearm. He was responsible the whole step of the way, and was still put down like a dog right there in front of his family. And they said the classic, well, it's because we feared for his life. He had a gun on him. We didn't know what was going to happen. They reacted to preserve their lives. Right? That's what was said. Then not that long later on, you had up there Officer Muhammad Noor, who was responding to a call with his partner of someone possibly trying to break in or a violent crime potentially in progress in an area that was really tense. There's a lot of conflict. There's a lot of static between law enforcement and the community at that time. And so they responded in a dark alley. He's in there with his partner trying to figure out what's going on. And the white lady who called is Australian. She pulled up, didn't announce herself, was banging on the cop's window. Officer Muhammad Noor, Somalian, fired out the window trying to protect his partner. And he said the same exact thing the other officer did, saying, well, given the circumstances, we didn't know what was going on. We feared for our lives. I tried to protect my partner. They weren't trying to hear none of that. They threw the book at him.
Exactly.
And then, of course, they could say, well, see, we are dealing with injustice. We're not just slack on crime. We definitely take this very seriously. And that's what they want to be able to do. So now they have they're starting to usher in a whole expendable workforce now that they can claim they're taking the right steps on. Meanwhile, they're protecting theirs. Exactly. And these people coming in ignorant of this stuff too, because they have no understanding of this. They don't understand these concepts like we do, because again, they're not from here.
Exactly. Well, that's why he got burnt, because he was actually a black man because of his skin color. He was a black man that killed a white woman versus a white guy who was really technically Hispanic and white that killed a black citizen who had no criminal record. And it just goes to show you the very unbalanced and disconnect / unjust system that we have that is geared against us. It's, people say the system isn't working. The system is working because the system was designed to do this. We have to be the one to break the system and construct a system of justice. This system was already on an unjust system from the day it was built, because the people that built it had built it on the premises of racism. The jails were there for the black folks. It wasn't there for the white folks. It was there to house the black folks. So,
precisely.
A lot of times people don't look at it in that way until that, what they say is till it hits their front door. So I did the research on what you were saying, and I pulled it up right here. So this is the bill, and it amends to Illinois Municipality Code provides the individual who is not a citizen but is legally authorized to work in the U.S. states under federal law is authorized to apply for a position of police officer, subject to all requirements and limitations other than the citizenship to which other applicants are subject. Effective January 1st, 2024. So it just got in effect this year, 12 days ago. What are we on? We're on no, 21 days ago.
Top of the year.
Yeah,
the first
top of the year.
First of the month.
Exactly. It amends the county's code, provides that the deputy sheriff or special policeman may be an individual who is not a citizen but is legally authorized to work in the United States federal. Provides that individual who is not a citizen. Okay, so we're just saying the same thing. What's the last one? Replaces everything enacting clause, reasserts the provisions of the engrossed bill, and adds that the individual against whom immigration actions has been deferred by the U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services under the federal deferred action of childhood arrivals, which is a DACA process. It allowed to apply for position of police officer, deputy sheriff, and special policeman. So those are elite. That's not just regular police officers. That goes up the ladder. You know,
yep.
When you talk about special policemen, then you talk about special forces. You know, that could be what's that? SWAT. They could be joining the SWAT.
Absolutely.
Deputy sheriff. That's a high authority. You know, that goes all the way back to Bass Reeves days, and that's a phenomenal series that I wish a lot of people go watch with Bass Reeves. But it's super dope. But this is scary. And I'm going to tell you why this is scary. Because people don't like to line things up. But imagine that you have immigrants. Remember, Asians are immigrants too. So now you have Asians who are undocumented that come in with these special, you never know, they might have been police officers in their own country, right? And they come over here, and an Asian now becomes a police officer, and guess what? That Asian officer now has protection, because guess what bill that Biden passed along with Kamami that gives them protection? It is the anti-crime hate bill against Asians. So if I sit back and I get harassed by an Asian cop and I defend myself, now I get hit with what they call that again? I get hit with a racial charge, right? So now I get hit with a hate crime because I'm defending myself. See, this is what I alluded to this. I made a post about that. I said, when it came out, I said, you know what? If the Asians become cops and they have this anti-Asian bill, they have extra protection on them. And now it removes the white cops from out of that situation and put these Asian cops in. Now they're the buffer class in the buffer zones that now is even super dangerous towards Black folks. So these are the things that like we tell you guys every time we talk, we always say life is like chess. You know, you got to understand your enemy's move, because your enemy might grab that rook and drag it across the board to outside of an area that you feel is not a danger zone. And then you make 2 or 3 another moves. And now that rook that they put on that side now is a piece that is now weaponized and has you pinned to now be in a checkmate position. So sometimes when you look at something and you say, that's not something that we need to worry about, when it's time to worry about it, it's already too late because it's already solidified and in place. This is what we try to basically teach you, educate you, and try to prep you on how they move and align things up and give themselves ultimate protection while protecting themselves on the back end. You know, These are the moves. All right, so we definitely want to go off into the next subject, which is at the workplace. A lot of people don't understand that in the workplace there is entitlement in the workplace. A lot of these bosses and supervisors feel entitlement. I remember there was I think you brought that up, Bobby, right? I think it was when we was talking one time about how bosses, a real boss will get down and dirty with their employees and not one
Oh,
who sits
absolutely.
at the table and whips their employees. You know what I'm saying? They get the best out of them when they work with them and understand and have empathy, because they know that they were once at the bottom level themselves, versus somebody who comes in and just feels like they got to be a dictator and come with this entitlement to their title. We had situation where this ended up being a fatal situation that we're, like I was telling you about earlier, how the entitlement, when it comes to a fatal position, how bad is it, right? And it's pretty bad because you have an HBCU. And I remember getting into a discussion with this young lady on my page, and I was telling her about these HBCUs have all these white teachers and staff members that are getting paid way more money than the black folks. And this is at HBCUs. It's like there's nothing we run solely. It's always got to be monitored or controlled or supervised by people that don't look like this, you know?
Yep.
And this HBCU president placed on paid administrative leave after VP of Student Affairs commits suicide due to his alleged bullying. So our poor queen, our poor sister is no longer here because she'd been bullied and felt like, you know, the last thing she could do is she just felt helpless. And this is one of the reasons why we talk so much about how important it is for us to have the protection of a husband, you know, lined up with you that can basically be your force and your backbone to help you fight against things like this. A lot of times when you have single mothers or single women that get in these situations, they feel like they can't do no better. They can't do anything. And you didn't, I don't think you've seen the movie Did you see the movie Beekeeper?
I didn't. I was supposed to watch that the other day and I fell asleep, but I got that in my queue set up for if I don't see it tonight, I'm gonna see it tomorrow.
Okay, so I don't want to give too much spoilers, but I will say this. The same thing happened to Felicia Rashad in that movie. And the thing about it is Felicia Rashad did not have a husband. I think, if I'm not mistaken, I think he passed away. So she really was by herself. And you'll see more about that when you watch the movie, and anybody else that go out there watch the movie. Phenomenal movie. Phenomenal movie. But it goes to show you that our sisters, our queens out here need to be protected on all levels, and especially in the workforce. And what makes it so dangerous in the workforce for Black women, and I love you sisters, and I'm trying to be real with y'all, but what makes it so dangerous for you guys is the fact that you guys are in a corporate, you're climbing the corporate ladder. Black men aren't in the corporate ladder because Black men are shunned out of the corporate ladder because Black men are a commodity. White women are attracted to Black men, Hispanic, Asian. White men are attracted to Black men. Black women are attracted to Black men. So we are the attraction. We are the cream of the crop when we enter in a Fortune 500 space because we're intellectual Black men. We come with, you know, suave style and everything like that. We end up drawing the attention, and white men don't like that. So what they did was they gave a lot of these jobs to Black women. Not saying that you're not qualified for the job, but you are more favored to pick over a straight Black man. You are the first ones to get picked over a straight Black man. You and Black homosexual men. So Black women and homosexual men get first dibs over a Black heterosexual man inside of the corporate ladder. And when that happens, you guys don't have protection. There aren't any protection for you because the black man who's heterosexual comes with masculinity. And those masculine men will never let a woman, especially a black woman, be targeted like this, treated like this without stepping up in place and stopping it. But when you extract the masculinity of the black man out of the workforce and you have this type of situation, you feel almost like there's nothing you can do, and you're broken down so weak that to the point where those suicidal thoughts kick in, and this is what happens. This is the end result. And it's a beautiful sister, beautiful queen, superb woman, great at her job, and for her to feel that belittled and that bullied to take her own life says a lot. And the entitlement of this white man in the HBCU doing this and then getting placed on paid leave, just like all these racist cops that shoot black people and get placed on paid leave. You know, so I definitely wanted to highlight that. And before I go into the next thing, I'm going to show you a video of another workplace situation of entitlement. This one is a little flip on the other side because this little young lady was very violent to another young lady another black young lady at the job. And then she just became so enraged and felt entitled to get her stuff. And it caused a big scene. And you guys can read about the story, but here we go.
Get my stuff! Hey, get out! Bitch, get out my... Oh, what the fuck you think you're doing? No, go wrong enough! Get my stuff! You're gonna get call police. No! Get my stuff! Call the police. Call the police. Hold on, let me call. Somebody's on the phone with the police, right? Somebody's on the phone with the police, right? Yeah, I'm on the phone with the police.
All right, so it's just crazy that I even had a discussion with a woman on my page, and she was like, well, all you had to do was just give her her stuff. And I said, well, the first thing that a job has to do is you have to isolate the situation. If you have a woman or two employees, and one is violently attacking the other one, you have to separate them. And that's what they did. They separated them. She felt like she wanted her stuff so she could leave, but the people, a lot of time people say they want their stuff and they go and get an extra lick or beat somebody down even more. So I think they were protecting the other employee that got attacked by this young lady. And I was telling her, I said, if she really wanted her stuff, just wait for the police. Like the brother was saying, the brother told her, just wait, we'll give you your stuff. We just got to make sure everything is cool down, everybody's cool, and then we'll let you get your stuff. And she turns right around and swings and hits him in the face. And he had enough coolness to just brush it off, and more power to him, because I don't know if I have that same restraint. Because, I always tell people, whether you're a man or a woman, keep your hands to yourself. You know what I'm saying? And when I tell women this all the time, some of them get irritated when I say that, but I say, okay, it's so funny with women. Y'all get so irritated because y'all just see a woman and y'all be like, oh, the man is so much bigger. But do you know how many men get killed because they don't defend themselves? They don't check the woman or, aggressively put her in her place to stop the violence towards him, and they end up getting killed. Because, like I tell people all the time, all it does is that blow she gave to that guy in the head. What if she would have hit him in a way that hit his temple?
Yep.
And he could have died.
Dead.
He's dead. You see what I'm saying? And we gotta start realizing that. And that's why I tell men and women, keep your hands to yourself. Keep your hand. If everybody keep their hands to themselves, this world will be a better place. But the problem is people can't keep their hands to themselves. So I just wanted to show that video, but I definitely let you go ahead and chop it up and tell us, elaborate more on what you feel.
No, where what you said, and I'm gonna stretch back to the what happened to the HBCU as well.
Correct.
But
Correct.
what you said just now, that right there is why, and I have a controversial take about this, but I have reasons for it.
Yeah.
And that's just what I advocate to brothers as well. The issue with this is, and what the thing that bothers me the most about videos like this, because regardless of what happened before or after, because I don't know the whole backstory behind the video. Yeah. I think I saw the original one. I saw some people saying that she was accused of stealing something from the store. That's why they're calling the police. I'm not sure. I don't know. But what always bothers me, because it always, and I don't mean generally speaking, I mean it always, every single time you can set your clock to it, you will never be late, not once. Every time you have a video like this where you have a woman or women going at it with a man or with men, it never fails. The woman will be doing any and everything, be picking up objects, bats, trees, bushes, tires, books, garbage cans, whatever they get their hands on, they'll be picking up any and every weapon they can to try and assault this man.
Yeah.
Nobody will say boo or do anything. Nothing. Just cameras out or just people talking. Y'all need to stop calling the police, whatever. That's it. Nothing. It's a whole WWE hardcore match.
Exactly.
The minute
I want
missing back and go.
No, I just wanted to point out what you just said. Remember, like you said, they were watching with the cameras, and when the white man threw across the floor, and then everybody was like, "Oh no!" And then that's when the black lady came out.
Exactly.
You see what I'm saying? Go ahead.
Exactly. Missing cock his hand back. You don't even have to hit her. Just pull his hand back like he's about to hit her. Now all of a sudden it's like 3 armed guards, a police sergeant, some defensive linemen or whatever come out of the blue, out of nowhere. All of a sudden, whoa, hey, let's break it up. It's like, so where were y'all when she was beating the dog snot out of me or trying to? And I've seen this all the time. There's a video that I'll never forget several years ago where a brother was in a store up in New York, and this chick was profiling him, walking up and down the street like, get out my face, I'm trying to buy my stuff, whatever. And she literally was attacking him, sprayed him in the face with mace. And this whole time he'd been restraining himself, he hadn't been hitting her. She'd been grabbing his stuff. He'd been showing restraint. No one did anything. She sprayed him in his face with pepper spray. Here he is. You can hear him yelling in pain. He's reaching for her, trying to grab her to grab her or knock her, whatever. Then all of a sudden, people coming in trying to get in the way. Like, where were you before to protect him?
Exactly.
It's crazy. So what I always advise gentlemen to do, if you're in the situation, if a woman is being violent with you, aggressive is one thing, but if she's actually being violent with you, if she's trying to hit you with objects, do not do what a lot of brothers do and sit back and just wait. What you need to do is immediately, as soon as she puts a hand on you, you can cock your hand back or you can open hand, whatever your preference is in the moment. You need to give her one good hard shot to the head, to the face area. At whatever your maximum strength is, if your max strength is at a 10, do it at about a good 6. I wouldn't say maybe a 7. I would say at least do it at a 6, right across the face. Here's why I say that. When men fight, we understand that there's a very real possibility that one of us might not walk out of here alive.
Yeah.
You and me get into it, it gets really heated. We understand we've thrown blows. We have grown adult man strength. This can go really, really wrong. Someone could get slammed. Someone could die. Someone could fall on their neck, whatever. It can get really ugly. Yeah. Women will fight all the time and pull hair and just bop, bop, bop and kick and all that. They'll do that forever, 9 times throughout the day. And it's all good. It's the difference between when men fight and when women fight. When you come at a man in that fashion, because a man is a human being, and he's just trying to restrain himself. Hit it. He's a human being. Eventually, there's going to come a point where he has a breaking point because he can only put up with that abuse for so long. Eventually, it's going to keep on building, building, building. When he snaps, he's not going to see her as a woman or anything. He's going to see this as a threat that needs to be eliminated, and he's going to unleash everything he has to knock the bejesus out of her. And if no one gets in the way to stop it, there's a very real chance that she could put sent to the ICU, or she might even lose her life. And it's not because he's a bad person, but it's because he's a human being who was pushed beyond his breaking point. It can happen to anybody.
Correct.
When a woman is coming at you like that, that means that she is stating to the world that I see you on my same level. I see you as someone that I can go at it with. You pop her at a good 6 or 7 with that strength across the face. You reminding her there is a very real power difference between you and me. She has forgotten that there's a difference. You are bringing her back to her proper sense. Hey, I'm a grown man, and I also do not have a reservation about hitting you. I will strongly reconsider your current course of action.
Correct.
It should work the first time. If not, if she keeps pushing the issue, you might need to do a second or a third time. But ultimately, she is not being horribly damaged. She's likely not going to suffer any severe injury. She's going to be able to walk away. You're going to be able to walk away. Everyone will get to go home and tell the story to their children or their grandchildren or whatever. But when you sit back and, I can't put my hands on a woman, I can't put my hands on a woman, and you snap, there's no telling what you're going to get. So be sure that if you're in this situation, try to do what you can to get away, because we understand what the game is, but try to keep your distance, try to separate yourself, do what you got to do. If you are a bystander to a situation like this, put your phone down. Get it. If you're going to intervene, then do it from the outset, not from later on down the road. Don't wait until she goes and is about to get hit that you want to intervene. If you were going to intervene, you should have done the minute she started throwing her hands first.
Yeah.
If you're going to be a bystander, be a bystander. If you want to get involved, get involved. But no special rules for her because she's a woman. That's crazy.
Exactly.
And really quick, I asked for the sister at the HBCU. Condolences to her and to her family. This is crazy because this could never, and I mean this could never happen at a PWI. You would never see, first off, if you were to even miss and get a black male or female president of a PWI, that would be a huge deal, number one.
Exactly.
Especially as an Ivy League. And number two, to be bullying a white subordinate on the job like that, it wouldn't matter if it was the janitor.
Yeah.
You would have 2, maybe 3 good time stops to go and say something sideways, and they're coming for your whole career, profession. You're not just getting let go from the university. You banned from academia, period.
Exactly.
You will never be able to, you won't even be able to go work at a trade school. You ain't ever. You won't be able to even be at one of those whatchamacallit, the schools where they have the kids that have
the vocational.
Not the vocational, you know, ones that typically they're the real rough kids, the violent or the not reformative schools. But,
yeah, I know you're talking about.
But yeah, you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I know you're talking about.
You won't even be able to work one of those joints.
Yeah,
but
alternative schools.
There you go, alternative schools. You won't even be able to get a job there. But this just goes to show how the power balance between us is so grossly negative, where you could be at a whole black institution where you should feel safe among your peers, and you basically got a plantation overseer who could drive you to commit your own suicide. And I'm sure from the looks of that sister, she was probably all into education. She's probably very well credentialed, very accomplished. She strikes me as the type where her job is her passion. She has a passion for education and helping students. So basically that school likely was her whole life. I'm pretty sure she had a husband. There's no way that would have gone down, because ain't no man going to sit back there and especially letting a white man come at his wife like that. That's going to be a problem.
Exactly.
So she likely had nobody. That school was her family. Her job was her life. So basically she was being bullied in her safe place. That was her castle.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
This need to constantly have these people in our circles And I don't mean
I
in
agree.
our general areas. I'm not saying that everything has to be necessarily isolated. I wouldn't mind that at all. But it's an HBCU, for God's sake.
Yeah, exactly.
If not there, then where? It's in the name. If we can't even have that for ourselves, what can we have? And this is why. This is some South Africa type nonsense. You got a whole entire blonde haired, blue eyed white man as the president of a historically black college and university with black
Mm,
students, with black faculty being able to operate in this manner. And,
exactly.
we really need to be intentional about the spaces that we have and properly gatekeeping them.
Hmm.
I know, I don't know if he borrowed the quote for anybody, but I remember Jason Black said a long time ago, and that's always
Hmm.
stuck with me. Uh, you can be a rich and successful white person and not know a single solitary black person.
Exactly.
Nowhere around you. You can make it all at the top without ever having to encounter or deal with a single black person. But as a black person,
Correct.
you cannot become rich and successful without having to deal with white people at some level, whether it's your banker, your attorney, whether it's business
Hmm.
partners, a network or whatever. At some point, you have to go and deal with a white person. And more than likely, it's going to be multiple people.
Exactly.
Um,
I
we
agree.
got to be mindful about preserving these spaces and understanding why we're doing this. It is not a sign of great strength to show, see how we're able to bring others among us. That's not a great sign of strength. Great strength is being able to be insulated. It's you and your own, and you're still able to thrive and get everything you need done. Black Wall Street was powerful because we were self sufficient. We literally were self made.
Hmm.
Nobody did anything for us. We had our own hospitals, schools,
Hmm.
movie theaters, transportation. We were in charge of our own. I want you to think about all the things that goes into actually having a city or having a
Correct.
township. The utilities, the electricity, the plumbing and sewage, the drainage, infrastructure, construction, everything. No white people were doing anything for these towns and these areas. It was
Correct.
all black everything, and they were able to do it at a high level that exceeded even neighboring white townships where they got jealous and acted against them. That was
Correct.
power, and they acted against it because of how powerful it was. They ain't sweaty
Correct.
little diversity project that you got going on. They might grumble and murmur, but they're not really pressed like that about it.
Hmm.
So we've got to be mindful about this. Stop letting these people among us in areas, especially where it matters the most. These are supposed to be
Correct.
institutions that insulate and care for and provide a safe space for our children and for our adults, for our faculty members to be and serve in these areas and to give a different perspective that they're not going to get in a PWI. And if you're going to
Correct.
go and bring the PWI into the HBCU, ain't no point. Why
Correct.
have an HBCU if you ain't going to keep it HB? If you ain't going to keep it HB,
Exactly.
open up.
Nobody lets their enemies teach them but us. I don't get it. The Asians have their own curriculums. They go through their own teachers before they even come over here. The Jewish community, they go through their own schooling before they enter into the regular school system. The Hispanics, they teach their own because of the barrier languages. But we're the only ones who let people pry on us and teach us what they feel they need to teach us. And then at the same time, have an issue with us when we're too hyper as children. And then they want to get us kicked out of school, suspended, or whatever the case may be, because they don't feel safe around our children. And it's crazy. And that leads our children to spiral downhill into another direction. And that goes into what we always talk about, which is the code of conduct, which is why Black Wall Street was so successful. We're losing a lot of code of conduct. Even right now, a lot of women are engaging in hood rat behavior, right? So I saw this meme and I thought it was pretty dope because this pretty much bodies a lot of the feminist, toxic, mass amount of women that's out here. So you have the meme says me, hood rat shit, and my third cup of coffee, right? And we're seeing we're seeing a lot of this hood rat, this feminism, all the agendas is now backfiring, right? So even with this, we had the female-led movies that flopped because they were filled with lies, feminism, and misandry. So you had the Ghostbusters. You had the what's that? The I think that's Marvel, right?
The
I
Marvels.
think that's Captain Marvels, right? Yeah,
Mhm.
the Marvels. You had the Color Purple. You had Woman King. We even seen with the Brick Lady. Even she has came out and got charged because they found out what she was doing was actually a lie. She made a false report. She did not get beat up by no men. The police investigated it and they end up arresting her. She ended up being in custody because of it. These are the type of things that go on that we don't need to be a part of. And another one that I want to get into is this, the backlash again, right? So all of this stuff is coming back. Everything is getting crushed, right?
Yep.
So Max cancels Issa Rae Miami-based TV series Rap Shit after only 2 seasons. If you notice it, it has a lot of try to do a lot of female empowerment, a lot of lies, a lot of hustling. It just has a lot of non-feminine energy in it. It's just everything is just misandrous. It is feminism, and it is what do you call it? This whole we can do what men do, right? And it's
Mm-hmm.
failing because there's a law of order. And once you go against that law of order, it's going to collapse. It's kind of like building a house foundation on quicksand. Where the structure will be up for a little while, but after a while, you start seeing the house submerge into the sand. And that's what's happening. So all of that is being crushed, destroyed, and people are being ousted for it in the back end. And I'll land my plane on that and give it over to you.
Now, I also saw recently that apparently they're letting go of a whole bunch of people over at Sports Illustrated.
Mm,
And I know that over the years they've been doing a whole lot of trying to, just like I said, try to hop on this whole alternative agenda bandwagon, trying to push a whole bunch of, because especially back when we were coming up, Sports
yeah,
Illustrated, that was that joint. That was for as far as sports goes, that was like the Source magazine or XXL or Rap Pages for us back then. You saw
yeah,
the big athletes. If you made it on the cover, that means it was a really big deal. You look forward to
correct.
seeing your team up on there and everything else. That was a major deal for an athlete to be featured in Sports Illustrated magazine. If you got the cover, that was essentially the first edition of getting on the cover of Madden or getting on the cover of NBA 2K or NBA Live. Back that was that before those games were even in prominence right there.
Mm-hmm.
And that's always been the standard for physical fitness, excellence. When they cover their Sports Illustrated swimsuit editions, those are the big deals for everyone across the country. And over the last decade or so, they've been trying to push more of this whole body positive stuff. So now they're no longer showing the physical form at its peak. They're trying to show that fat women can be sexy too and everything else. They're trying to show these dudes and these dresses and all the other stuff that doesn't do anything, that doesn't actually cater to the audience that they have. And they finally have to come to grips with it and say, hey, we can no longer afford to keep doing what we're doing. So we got to fire everybody. We got to let everybody go.
Yeah, correct.
So it doesn't pay. I don't want to use the term woke because that's not really what woke is. That's the term that's been commandeered. But for lack of a better term at the moment, they've shown that the whole woke movement is not a profit puppy. It is not. It's not
Yeah,
sustainable. And these people, they might be willing to lose a bag behind it, but they will lose a bag. And if they're losing a bag at some point, the money's got to run out. It's not sustainable.
yeah, yeah.
And we're also starting to see that a lot.
Did,
This is happening a lot of places as well too. It's been a lot of these positions that a lot of companies have hired, these so-called diversity positions, whatever. A lot of these people have been let go as well too. It was good for a season, but they've been tossed out. And I want people to pay attention to that, because the significance of that, especially right now, is that we have entered into a presidential election year.
Mm-hmm.
And for those who haven't been paying attention, or who haven't been able to connect the dots, typically the media, entertainment on a whole, looks to go ahead and replicate what your White House, what your administration is going to look like. And I'm not saying that anything is fixed or in the bag, but typically, if nothing else, it's a good indicator of how they believe the tides are going to shift. Remember when Obama first got elected, you never saw so many prominent Black media figures before. Every single news channel had a prominent Black lead anchor, male or female. You had multiple Black co-hosts and panelists on CNN programming. They even tossed up some of them up on places like the Fox News Network and other places. You had a whole bunch of Black people out there trying to go ahead and mirror what the administration was doing. And as soon as Obama left the White House, all them people started getting kicked out and booted off left, right, front, and center.
Yeah.
So if you see that all these figures that are reflective of this present administration are getting ousted, don't be surprised if whoever the GOP picks, and I think we know who's going to be, don't be surprised if they get placed right back there at 1600 Pennsylvania. Just saying, got to read the tea leaves.
And I don't know if you saw, you made a point about them getting rid of a lot of people at the what do you say, ESPN? That was getting them.
Sports Illustrated.
Who were their name? Sports Illustrated. Did you see the reporter? They won't release her name, but the reporter that asked Todd Bowles that question about the game, you heard about that? You seen that?
I did not. That one got past me. What's the
okay. So
story with that?
Okay, so here's hold on, let me see if I can pull it up real quick. Because I had the video, but it didn't come down. I mean, it didn't load up. So here you go, right here. Hold on. Let's see if I can get it to
What it?
Gosh, I hate the commercials. But I want you to hear this. And Todd Bowles, he was being real nice. And they don't give him credit for that though. But this is what happened. Oh gosh. Wait for it to load real quick.
And they would gravitate toward them faster. And that's exactly what he did. And in doing that, he invited all the attention to him from the guys, and they really look up to that. They really see the grit and the toughness and the preparation that he does, and he's ingratiated himself with the team that way, and that's all I mean by him being himself.
Looking forward towards Detroit. The weather's been a factor in some of the playoff games, even for the most prepared teams. Today it's 13 in Detroit, which doesn't compare to some of the temperatures we typically up to. Any special plans to acclimate the team to not only endure but perform in those kind of frigid temperatures should you face them in Detroit?
You do know we play indoors, right? They got a dome. No, nothing planned. We're indoors, and we only have to be outside for 20 seconds, getting off the bus, going under the thing, so we'll be okay.
So basically, I don't know if you could hear, it was a lot of the male reporters were snickering and laughing that she asked that question. And the Lions had a dome stadium since 1975. So when she was asking about the weather and all that, she didn't even do the research to see that some of these stadiums have domes, which it don't matter what weather you have outside, they're inside a covered up stadium. So he kind of was thrown off. He wanted to laugh, but he was very respectful towards her because he knew he would have got backlash from it. But, he was just like, hey, we're going to be indoors. So the weather shouldn't be a factor. The only time we'll even feel that weather is the 20 seconds that we get off the bus to go inside the stadium itself.
He torched her with that too. I'm listening. He listened to the whole question play, and he was real respectful. He just sat there politely, waiting to go ahead and pull out that flamethrower. And sure enough, I mean, everything. Look, and to make it as a head coach in a major football organization like that, you know, he's been around for quite some time. He's seen it all, done it all, probably exposed to a lot. So he understands how to play that game or how to do it for the most part. But trust and believe, that was about as politically correct as you can get making that kind of statement. The real answer was that first sentence. Everything afterward was just, you know, words, salad, and gobbledygook. The real answer was the first sentence. You do know we play indoors, right?
Yeah, exactly.
That was his real response. In other words, do better. And that's why they were laughing. So that's crazy. But
I do want to show these videos real quick before we go into our question of the day. And dear men, there's a couple videos that I want to show about the entitlement from women, because now we're talking about the entitlement that we get from women. And I just want to show these videos to show you the different aspects of entitlement from women. And we'll start with this one right here.
You feel that I need affection. Mm-hmm. And it's more about being seen. You're so in with the boys and cooking, and I appreciate it all to the max. But I feel like I'm a ghost in the house.
And I feel like I'm a robot.
That I see, and I acknowledge that 100%.
That sounds meaningful. That I'm a robot and that he feels like a ghost? No. I heard Drew say that when you say he needs affection, you're not hearing him. That he's saying he feels like a ghost, like you don't see him. I understand that. Well, that you did not convey that. Your response was, and I'm a robot.
And that is an issue. It's always, but this. It's not, like,
it goes both ways.
All right.
Oh my
I
God.
want to play this.
Age isn't really a factor, but you don't know what you want.
How old are you again?
38.
You're 38? Oh, yeah. Red flag.
But it's less about being a red flag and more about being a liability.
I get it.
If I were to bring you into my life, you would be a liability.
Right. Do you got kids, though?
No.
You said you're a doctor, right?
That's correct.
You change your mind, I'm open to it, though.
Why would you be open to it?
Because you're handsome, for one.
So you only like me because I'm beautiful.
Just like I'm beautiful.
Yeah, but that's not why I would only like you.
So why would you like me? Because you didn't answer that.
Because you can bring something and add something to my life. But because you're a liability, you can't add anything to my life.
Right.
You would be a liability to everything in my life.
So what can I not add to your life? What is that?
You can't teach me anything. You can't help me with my finances in any way. You can't add any.
All right, and then the last one I want to show.
It was one of our early.
Blame him.
That clip
was
a split screen.
That was beautiful. That was perfect.
I was rocking. You could tell from my body language. I wasn't listening. I was ready to just attack and go in on it. And so I commented on it, and I was just like, I was not being receptive to it. And I bring it up because I was so appreciative of the men who commented and were saying thank you for knowing that you weren't, that you were not being receptive. Now, some of the men, I guess you didn't see my comment because you was eating me up, but whatever. But they were just saying it is huge for you to be that introspective, to understand that you're not receiving what's being said to you, and to, pull yourself out and call yourself out. So I say that to say, men are waiting for us to take back our power.
Yes.
They need us to understand who we are, and that sometimes we're the problem in those situations. And once they can see that we understand it and can reflect on it, they're ready with the praise. Because I've received such an outpouring of love from Black men. I've never had that happen to me before. Like I've never had Black men praise me in that way for correcting myself. So I say that to say women, they're waiting on us to realize that we need to fix some things. They're waiting on us to give them the direction to.
All right, and that's it for the 3 videos that I wanted to play real quick. So, what are your thoughts on that?
To the sister at the end, mic drop. Drop the whole entire microphone. That all by itself.
Yeah,
that's a full meal. You really don't need no dessert. Really don't need an appetizer. Really don't need a garnish. You don't need any parsley on the side. That's a whole filling meal right there. That was amazing. And what she said was spot on. We are waiting. And I've been saying for years now, and I have yet to receive a response that makes sense or that's on the level where the women will talk about how the men need to get themselves together and do the work. If all these men were to get themselves together the way you say they need to, what women would they have to look towards?
Yeah.
They've done all this work. They've become this idealized, actualized, finished product. Where are the finished product women? Haven't even picked up their tool. And that, well, of course, they're all linked together. But going to the first video, that scenario is so common. One of the biggest things I see women talk about is that they want men who are able to communicate. They want men to be vulnerable and we see all the posts and topics about that. Men need to be emotionally intelligent. But too often women prove that they are the ones who are not emotionally intelligent, and it's usually the ones who ask for that. And this is why I'm very big on definitions. It's big on defining and being transparent and breaking down what you're talking about, and it sounds silly and basic, but the problem is a lot of the times when people are communicating and then talking, even if they're using the right words, even if they're actually listening, which is a whole big giant step in and of itself, the problem is many times people have different definitions for words and terms.
Correct.
So they're talking about, well, you need emotional intelligence. Okay, what is that? For a lot of women, emotional intelligence from a man looks like being able to allow me to vent and be immature, to act unaccountably, to act with all sorts of bad behavior. I can spaz out and go crazy, and you're supposed to just be sitting there casually in the middle of this hurricane, just unbothered ho-hum. And you hear women romanticize that. They'll talk about, a perfect example would be Lauren London, right? And big love to Lauren London. Shout out to our sister. R.I.P. to Brother Nipsey. We still miss you, bro.
Yeah.
But remember, she had that interview where she talked about how, she would lash out. She would be this nasty person at times. And he just sat there loving her through it all, and how she misses him, and how, no man had ever done that for her before, and how he taught her so much. And it's like, ma'am, you just basically admitted that you were toxic as hell and very nasty to a brother that was only trying to love you.
Correct.
And your idea of praising him, you think that it's a good thing that he's able to sit there and take it. No, that's not a good thing. He should not have sat there and take that from you.
Yeah.
But a lot of women see emotional intelligence as something that's supposed to benefit and serve them, and not something that needs to be reciprocated. I've seen a number of therapists, that same exact situation that happened right there. That might be a skit, but that ain't a skit.
Yeah.
That's a biography right there. I've seen, not her, but I've seen a number of therapists, male and female, especially the female ones, Males not as much, and I think that's probably more about the discrepancy between males and females in the mental health services. Correct. And also specifically dealing with couples therapy. You're more likely to have a female therapist than male therapists there as well too. But I've seen a number of female therapists admit that when they have couples sitting before them, oftentimes it'll be the woman who initiates or says, well, we need to go ahead and bring therapy into the picture. We need to go see a counselor, not the men. The men will usually drag their feet or whatever. But once they go through the process, as long as they're able to point out the flaws that the men have, it's fine. But the minute the therapist starts saying, well, now, sis, here's what you need to work on, fix on, that's when it falls apart.
Yep.
They'll talk about how men will just up and leave the therapy because they feel like they're being ganged up on, which does happen. And that's one of the reasons why a lot of men don't have a favorable view of therapy, because they see it as an opportunity for their significant other to get back up, to gang up on them and jump on them.
Correct.
But they've shared that when they have a situation where the blame for what's going on is equal, or what's happening is really a result of the woman not doing what she's supposed to do, or having failings, just like they said the men do, the women leave and don't come back. And in a lot of cases, the men will stay on. They'll continue to get therapy for themselves and try to get tools to become better and to see what they can do on their end from the relationship, which really is kind of a fool's errand, because a relationship is two people. It can't just be one person doing the work, but they can at least try to do the best they can on their end of things and hope that she's able to, fix it, or they can at least keep things going based off their efforts. But that happens all the time. Too often when you bring up something, it's always a but or a, and I also think, or no, it doesn't have to be a tit for tat thing all the time. We are adults. We should have left the buddy system behind in elementary school. You don't need to hold your partner's hand next to you so you can go to the bathroom together, stand in line. That's crazy. If you have something that needs to work on, don't worry about, well, you have something to work on too. Don't worry about what I have to work on. Working on whether I work on my area of responsibility or not, is not going to affect your area of responsibility. Me cleaning up my doorstep isn't going to make your doorstep any cleaner or dirtier.
Correct.
And if you're waiting for me to clean up my doorstep before you cleaning up yours, what does that say about you?
Correct.
These are individual things. If you're not trying to become a better person in every regard for your own self first and foremost, then whatever it is you're trying to do is going to fail. If you're waiting for your partner to become a better partner before you become a better partner, the relationship's not going to last.
Correct.
All right? What I'm eating isn't supposed to necessarily make you shit. So if that's the way you move through life, not only are you going to suffer a lot of L's, but you're never going to become the best version of yourself. It's impossible. And not only that, but you are guaranteeing that your relationship becomes very transactional. It becomes a situation where you're very tense, easily frustrated, because you're constantly keeping score. And, if you miss and have 1 point ahead, you're going to rub in your partner's face. If they're missing and have 1 point on you, then you're going to be... That's a terrible situation to be in.
Correct.
Just do what you got to do. Don't worry about if the other person isn't handling theirs. If they're pointing out an area that you can tighten up on, that's not an attack. They're doing you a favor. They're pointing out a hole in your game plan, a flaw in your system. And by doing that, they're giving you a chance to become better. You're supposed to thank that person.
Correct.
Say, thank you for giving me an opportunity to become better, and be humble like that. But again, if you're simply looking to just, have one up on the other person, I don't know what you can do with a relationship like that. I don't know what you would want to do with a relationship like that. But, we got to start becoming intentional. We have to start actually being adults. The adults have to actually start adulting. It's not a word. It's not an age. It's the way that you live your life. If you want to be an adult and be treated as an adult and respected as an adult, you got to start living like an adult.
Correct.
Now, land my plane on that.
All right. So I'm going to show this one video. I'm going to keep the Dare Men and the question of the day next week for Major, because I feel like he's married and these are questions more geared for a married person. So I would want to get more insight from a married person on that. I would love to see his insight on that. So we'll definitely keep that. I do want to play this one video before we get into the queen check for the night and get up out of here. And I think I want men and I want women especially to listen to this video, take it in. If you want to be a person that is intentional in your relationship, in your marriage, pay attention to this video right here. I think this video, Bobby, you said the last one was Ether. I think this one might be that one. All right. Well, you give me your feedback after you hear this. All right, here we go.
Husband was coming home for dinner. Dinner time is very important to us. One particular day, my husband was late, and I could feel myself getting a little bit like, you're late. And Holy Spirit said, when he comes in this house, you make a choice of how you're going to greet this man. Holy Spirit says, because you have no idea the things he's had to fight today. So even though you don't know why he's late, when he walks in this house, you greet him like the king he is. Then I hear the door turn, the key coming, and Holy Spirit said, it's almost time. When he comes in this house, you decide if you are going to be the type of woman who brings life or you bring a knife. So he walked in and I greeted him, I hugged him, I let him know I was so happy to see him. And he just melted in my arms. He said, let me tell you what happened today, what I've had to deal with. And it broke me down because there's a scripture, Proverbs 31:11. It says, the heart of her husband safely trusts her. When you endeavor to be a woman who follows the Holy Spirit will teach you how to love, how to be safe, how to be nurturing, and how to be the type of woman where a man comes home and he knows I fought out there, but I never have to fight in here. I'm home. Time.
Boom. All right.
Boom. Napalm. I saw that video before. Had a small mini conversation with some brothers about it. And what I will say about that, I think it speaks for itself. Shout out to the sister for coming to a realization, because nobody's perfect. We're all growing, and our relationships are supposed to be one of the biggest proving grounds that we have in our life. Because when you talk about, especially once you're married, you're talking about two different people from two different experiences, different backgrounds, different what have yous coming together, and they're learning how to coexist. They're learning how to become better versions of themselves. They're learning how to deal with a partner, meet them in the middle, compromise, deal with different styles and preferences and, flaws and faults and everything, and really make things work. It's a constant state of pulling and pushing and poking and stuff. And ultimately, if you do it right, it's not just supposed to make for a happy relationship, but it should both make you both better people for it. Because, you're not going to get that kind of intimacy to even have access to some of these things with other people. It doesn't matter how cool you are with your coworkers. You're not going to be in a situation where you have to deal with your coworkers the way you're going to deal with your significant other. Correct. So they're not going to be able to see your BS. You're not going to be able to see theirs, and you're not going to be able to have to deal with them like that. So it does a whole world of good when you have someone that you care about who can help you grow and take you to the next level, and you can do that for them as well too. But I do want to say specifically, that sister is an example of proper spiritual religious practice done right and making a difference in your life. One of the most popular things to hear from women, and because I'm with that background too, so I'm definitely not knocking it. I agree with it. But some of the most popular things you'll hear women say, they'll put it on their profiles, they'll say it out loud, they'll make quotes about it, they'll get tattoos of it, whatever, and all kind of stuff. They'll talk about how there are Proverbs, right, 31 woman. They'll talk about all the things it is, I'm this, whatever. They look for a man that wants a Proverbs 31 woman. They'll talk about how, a man's heart should be so close to God that he has to seek God in order to find me, all that kind of stuff, what have you. and then they'll end up being toxic and reflect nothing like what they're talking about.
Correct.
And I'm not saying you have to be a perfect Christian or a perfect Muslim or whatever it is to practice in order to have a quality relationship. But one of the reasons why a lot of dudes don't really put a whole bunch of stock in that nowadays, because they hear her saying all this and that, but it's not reflecting in the relationship. You know, they're trying to have a conversation with you. They're trying to get you to be accountable for something that you're messing up on, and you keep throwing it back at him or being nasty and bitter with him and everything. And he's saying, well, dang, what part of Proverbs 31 is that?
Correct.
Or where's the Holy Spirit have to tell you, hey, this is the wrong way to move and get down? And if you look in the word, in the Bible specifically, it says that if a woman, and this isn't to say that she's supposed to go get with anybody, but basically if a woman is in proper alignment with Christ, with God, and her heart's there and she's serving God faithfully, doing her duty to her husband and everything, even if her husband is wayward and out of line, because of who she is in his life and how closely in tune she is with God, that's going to pull him in alignment. You know, the man's supposed to be the priest of the household, yes, but if he's off his path, if he's off his way, if he was never there to begin with, just by her being that lighthouse for him, it's going to prick his heart and get him like, you know what, man, I gotta do better by her. That's not right, man.
Correct.
You know,
and then that goes into the helpmate. That's one of the facets of being a helpmate. You helping your man get back praying, on.
She's fasting for her man or whatever. You know, she's out there. You know, she's really going to spiritual warfare, to the mat for her man. That's going to inspire him to get himself in alignment. But a lot of these dudes ain't seeing that in these women who are banging that drum so hard. So they're like, man, ain't nothing to that. That's nothing. That's whack. That's weak.
Exactly.
But that's just as an example of what that looks like up front. If you're really in sync, as soon as you get them thoughts in your head, the Holy Spirit's supposed to do like it did with her. Now, why are you trying to do that to that man? Don't do that.
Exactly.
Do it
it's supposed to be your voice of reason.
Right. And that's not saying that you can't have an issue, you can't have an argument if you're a spiritual or whatever type of woman. It's not saying that. But in everything in life, there's a right way to go about things and a wrong way to go about things. There's another video I saw, my dude shared with me earlier today, where this woman said that she said on her own accord, she used to be a terrible wife. And she said, she used to she packs his lunch every single day before he goes to work. He's a very orderly, methodical dude, structure and everything. But when they had fights, if they were still on bad terms, what they would do is in the mornings when she would normally go to make his breakfast or his lunch for the day, she wouldn't make it. And then she wouldn't tell him that she didn't make it. She wouldn't put the lunchbox out. So when he goes up, gets up in the morning, sticking his schedule, he's ready to go and get his food and head out the door for his day so he can provide for his family.
Correct.
Including her. He goes and sees, damn, I don't have no lunch. She didn't make any lunch. And he had to go take time from his morning routine and make himself late trying to go ahead and whip up something really quickly to take for lunch or what have you. And she realized that was not just mean of her, but that showed that her love for him was conditional. Because whether you did this act of service for him, which ultimately benefited you as well, because again, you're helping to fuel and feed your husband who's out there providing and bring home money that you spend, that you get to benefit off of, shooting yourself in the foot. You were based on how you felt in the moment. So she said, I don't know what steps she had to take, but she said she's not the wife anymore. And now, no matter what, whether they were fussing or fighting the night before or not, she makes his lunch faithfully as she's been doing, like she's supposed to be doing.
Correct.
And these are the kind of things that men are looking for.
Exactly. But as women,
these are the kind of things that inspire men to go to that level. Go ahead.
No, I was saying, as women, you have to understand, like, you're looking for protection and provision from a man. His source of his protection comes from meals. So you have him going out there empty stomach, not having that meal, he can drop dead at work from being, starved. You know what I'm saying? He can pass out, hit his head. He can die. And then that guilty conscience will be on your brain for the rest of your life. That you are the contributor of your husband going out to work, not having the essential resources of fuel, energy from that food to trying to work through it and end up passing out, because apparently if he's fixing his food at the house, he's trying to conserve as much money to remain in the house and not eat out. So he could be trying to work through it and pass out. And then that puts y'all in a way bigger predicament.
And, to an extent, I blame the fact that we don't have a whole bunch of elders, specifically married elders, that can really pass this game on. Because back in the day, if some nonsense like that was found out by her mother or her grandmother or aunties, they found out, girl, you didn't do what? They would have gone in on her like, don't you ever do that to that man.
Exactly.
That's because that's out of pocket. You're opening a door, and when you do things like that as well, because you understand what it's about. Mm-hmm. When you put when you enter spite and pettiness into your relationship like that, what you're also doing is you're opening a door to further dysfunction. Now, I think you saw that post before where a woman said that, she used to be a woman that didn't believe in fixing her man lunch or breakfast or whatever, because he's a grown ass man. She ain't gonna do that. She ain't got no time to do that. He can do it for himself. And then when she found out that one of his female coworkers started cooking lunch and bringing lunch for him, she said, "Well, now I'm 5 o'clock. I'm a woman that gets at 5 o'clock." And that's funny because it's like, so now you realize what another woman was willing to do that you weren't willing to do, but that also shows that that's not sincere. You're only doing it because another woman was willing to do it for your husband.
Correct.
You thought that you could neglect your husband or just do him any old kind of way. And when you realize that another woman is showing, hey, there's better out here, you realize, damn, I got to step my game up so I don't get left behind. That's crazy.
It is.
And that's insincere too. But when men see that you're really willing to try like that, when you're willing to, not that you're perfect, but when you see that you have a flaw and you're willing to fix it or address it or to work on it, for the most part, your man's going to give you grace. He's also going to be very appreciative of it because he sees that you're making an effort, that you're trying, and he's going to honor that. And that's going to inspire him to be better. But when you have a transactional tit-for-tat relationship where you keep score everything, you try to get the most that you can while giving the least you can, that's a recipe for a nightmare. And things like that make a huge difference. It's not about being subservient or it's beneath you to do this, but it's about love and care. My brother, shout out my brother Blair Nash. He dropped a very insightful post on his feed, like he does on a regular basis, where he asked brothers, and I think he mirrored it for the sisters too, but he asked brothers, share the top 3 turn-ons you have from a woman that are non-sexual. And it got a huge bunch of feedback, a lot of response from the fellas, some good answers were tossing there. And one sister pointed this out, and I looked to check, and sure enough, she was right. A large part of the responses from a lot of the brothers on the post were saying that one of the things that they find to be attractive or as a turn on a woman was a woman who knows how to cook and bake and stuff. And they're like, wow, I'm surprised a lot of men actually find that, well, it was about hobbies, excuse me. Top 3 hobbies that you have that you like to see a woman. She was like, I'm surprised to see men that actually like cooking and baking as hobbies in women. And there's a lot of women, I guess, who co-signed that said, I was kind of surprised to see that as well too. And I'm like, how disconnected are you from previous generations? It's a big thing back when the women of the family used to cook, because they recognized that it's not just cooking. It's not about, labor and working, but it's about putting your heart and your soul into your food, nourishing your family, and feeling joy, feeling happy that knowing that your family, the people that you love, are enjoying the food that you made with your hands, tasting the love that's in your cooking. One of the whole reasons why people are typically like eating at home more than eating out, aside from being healthier, but it's not just healthier, but it's because good quality homemade food, you can taste the love in it. There
But
ain't no
what was
love
the
in a Whopper from Burger King.
exactly? But what was the major quote that they always used to say? What was the way to a man's heart?
It's through his stomach.
Exactly.
Classic. He can taste the love in your food. He don't want to eat out. He rather be like, man, my wife cooking at home. And that was the thing. And even today now, it's amazing how few men understand that. One of my coworkers at the job, his wife is a teacher, but she also has like legit culinary skills. Like she be throwing down, whatever. But
Mhm.
she doesn't do that full time. She does it every now and then for special requests for people. But for the most part, she's a teacher. But she always cooks him breakfast and dinner. He be coming with little Tupperware,
Yeah.
and we joke with him in a good way. But every time, because we have a little microwave, a little mini fridge in the office to store like lunch or whatever there. So every time, and he's an orderly dude. Every time the time comes, same time every day, he goes, heats up his lunch, heats up his breakfast. Every time he comes to our microwave, we always get him like, man, stop bringing them good smells in his office, bro. Don't be doing that, man. Come on. Everybody isn't eating right now. You can't be doing that. We're like, man, what your wife whipped up today? And he was like, man,
Yeah.
she put this together, some real good food. Like, you can almost find this in a restaurant. We're like, dang, must be
Yeah.
nice. And he
Yeah.
laughs, but I know he feels good about that.
Exactly.
But, and most of the dudes in the office, they go and they get food from out. They dash to one of the spots around the way. They Grubhub some food over. Most men bring no food from home, but it makes a big difference. And
Correct.
it boosts a man's self-esteem knowing that he has his wife at home is putting the love, the energy, the nutrition, the nutrients in his food that he's going to take in. And that's going to inspire and fuel him to work hard, bring home that bacon, to provide and protect, and to really have that proper tie to his queen. So it
Correct.
makes a difference. Yes, it's not an old school thing. It's not because, you think that you're beneath a man or something. No, it's about putting that love and transferring to him in a different way. It's, you can show your man that you love him with the words you use. You can express your love to him through sex. You can express your love by spending time with him, or getting him gifts. We talk about love languages, but
Hmm.
food that you put your heart and soul in, that he tastes and he experiences you in that way. That's also a love language, and that's a huge impact that a lot of sisters from back in the day knew and understood about. And
Yeah.
unfortunately, in this boss bitch era, we're in this strong um, equalitarian society that we're in now. It looks like that's getting lost in the ways, but the old ways still work.
Correct.
So if you don't know, get up on it, man.
Definitely. All right. So we're gonna close out tonight with our crown check for tonight. And our crown check for tonight was a super dope woman that I ran across the story. I felt like she needed a crown check because I think a lot of times we put crown checks on a lot of sophisticated women. But I thought this woman looks like the everyday average woman that we see in our urban areas. And normally we kind of look down on women like this. We judge them in the wrong way. But I'm so glad she made national attention in the right way, and kudos to her. She definitely was God sent that day, and that young lady is um, this young
Yeah,
lady, which is Maya Washington, and a baby lived because an Oregon teen couldn't stand by after she saw three people get electrocuted. So she ended up, what happened was that there were a couple that was out, right? So Maja Washington noticed a flash outside her home this week in Portland where it was a dangerous storm and it was coated with the city with ice. Opening her blinds, she saw a red SUV with a down power line on it and a couple who had been putting their baby in the car. And the woman screamed to her boyfriend to get the baby safely. And he grabbed the child and began to scramble up the driveway on the concrete. and Slickett was almost impossible to walk. But before he made it halfway, he slid backwards and his foot touched the live wire. A little fire, then smoke, Washington said. The mother, 6 months pregnant, tried to reach to the baby, but she too slipped and she was electrocuted. She was with her 15-year-old brother who came out and helped, and he also got electrocuted. And then the young lady went over to, I think she went over to help. She got on her knees and went over and got to the baby that mother was holding, pulled the baby to rescue, and the baby ended up living because of the young lady. And they were shocked that the baby didn't get electrocuted as well. So that baby now is alive. The mother and father is gone, but maybe that baby will get enough strength and build enough legacy to leave behind for the family. It's a sad situation, but thank God this young lady looked outside her window and was able to save a baby that could end up dying either out there in the cold or through electrocution by some form of fashion. We never know, but we know that that baby has ended up being rescued and pulled to safety. So kudos to Miss Washington for doing what she did, and just being a great citizen in this world. And that's our queen check for the night.
Yeah, no, she's amazing. I saw the story and my jaw dropped when I read it because the details of that are crazy. I mean, that's about as freaky of a freak accident as you can get.
Correct.
Almost like something out of a movie, but it was crazy. Literally it was like a whole chain of events where everyone's just dropping down dead. And it takes a lot, because that's a terrifying situation to even have that thought.
Correct.
You literally watch several people die in front of you because the father of the child died, the mother died, she's pregnant with the child, so the child is lost too.
Yep.
And then the other young man went to go and try and save them. He died. So that's 4 people that died, all trying to help and assist.
Yeah.
And then you got that little baby left behind, and this girl saw all that going down, and no matter how afraid and how terrified she must have felt, she still didn't let that stop her from going out there trying to help. And she was able to be successful. And like you said, that child could have got it a number of ways. That's a baby. So
correct.
Could have died from exposure in the cold, could have been electrocuted like the others. There was water nearby, so she could have slid into the water, and even if didn't get electrocuted, could have drowned. A lot of things could have gone wrong, and because that's not a grown adult, it's not like you can just simply sit back and wait for emergency to respond and get there.
Correct.
Every second that child is exposed like that in that cold, the kid's closer and closer to death. And so she took swift action. She was thoughtful enough and intelligent enough, but also calm and collected enough where she could assess the situation and figure out a way how to rescue this child safely, where all these other people fell short of that. And she was successful. And thanks to her, this child, in all likelihood, is going to be able to have a full, rich life, however long that might be. So she is truly a guardian angel. She's true that child's guardian angel and protector. And it's a terrible, horrible tragedy, but it's beautiful knowing that one person at least was saved that didn't have to take that route. It's all thanks to her. So big up to that sister. She's a freaking hero.
Definitely.
Give her the key to the city.
Definitely.
She needs to have a poster in every single major shop in Portland. Everywhere she goes, she needs to get thank yous and pats on the back and handshakes and hugs.
Correct.
She is that. She is her. Big ups to you, sister. And she's a young woman too. I think she's is she even 19? I think she's a teenager still, I think.
Yeah, she's a teenager, yes. So she's young. She's really
young. but had that courage and had that heart to be of help and be of service.
Correct.
Can't say enough good things about her.
Definitely. So close us out, Drake. It's all on you.
All right. Well, end of another weekend of another show, and again, entitlement. This is something that needs to be done away with. Again, nobody owes you. If anyone owes you, you owe you. That's how to look at it. If you are entitled to anything, then you are entitled to put in the work it takes to get yourself to where you want to be and to get yourself the things that you desire to have. But as far as being entitled to other people and what they have, nobody owes you that. When you have an entitled mentality, you isolate yourself, you shut yourself off from a lot of things and a lot of people. But when you have the opposite, when you have a generous spirit, when you have a grateful perspective, an attitude of gratitude, and when you show appreciation for the things you have, what other people do for you, and the people in your life, you find that brings more to your life. You end up having more things, and you find that you end up being more blessed. Perfect example of that would be our brother Cat Williams, who decided he was going to help us kick the doors off of 2024 in grand style.
Correct.
But despite all the other amazing, the revelations and the things he had to share and reveal, what was truly most important, I think, and most impressive were the things that he did not go out of his way to reveal. And those are all the accolades that could be said about himself. And there was a post on Instagram. I don't know if we mentioned this in the last episode, but it was kicked off by Dion Cole, I believe it was, on his IG page. And he mentions a story that he heard about Cat, about how he, I think he
gave him money,
tipped the waitress
and he didn't know.
Yeah, he didn't know who it was. Like, I just want to know, is this, because to him it was amazing. Like, I just want to know, is this really a true story? Did Cat really do this? And what was this one little small post asking a question about one thing ended up being a huge, gigantic Cat Williams appreciation post, where apparently damn near everybody in America has a story about Cat Williams blessed and shown love, either paying for somebody's car, giving them an extra tip at their job, not being compensated or getting paid late on something, and he went ahead and footed the bill. Even down to him adopting several children of no relationship to him or whatever. And when he was interviewed about it, he was very soft-spoken. And if you know Cat Williams, you know that he might not have a loud voice, but if there's one thing he is not, is short on words. That brother can talk. But when he's speaking about himself, he was unusually meek and humble about it. And he was like, I just believe what's the universal principle. When you give, you're always going to get it back. And I use the concept, I believe, of having this invisible bank account that you're making deposits in. And when you invest in others freely from your heart like that, not looking for anything back, it's going to find its way back to you in one way, shape, or another. And that's an example of a person right there who is not entitled. He doesn't feel like what other people have should be his, or that he's supposed to get certain things. He goes out and works, and because he's so grateful for all that he has, he gives freely to others, and it comes right back to him. And so you have all these people that have these positive stories and these fond memories and appreciations of him, and who are constantly praying for him and blessing him because of how he blessed their lives. And so he's on a hamster wheel where gives good, gets good, gives good, gets good, gives good, gets good. You can't do that and operate that way from an entitlement mindset. Right? Because entitlement tells you to keep your hands clenched tight so nothing can come in. You might have something in there, but with that mindset, nothing can get in. But when you understand what I have is temporary and might not even last that long, so I willingly give what I have, I appreciate whatever I get. Things might not stay for long, but usually the hand is never empty for long either. So you're in a constant state of being open and receiving as you're giving and being generous. So be mindful of that in this new year. If you have the entitlement mindset, hit it over its head with the bottle, drag it behind the woodshed, Pull out the shotgun and put some holes in it. Put it to rest, put it to bed, kill the entitlement mindset, and work on developing an attitude of gratitude, an open spirit, one that is grateful, one that is content, one that appreciates what you have, but is also optimistic of what's coming your way later on. And you're going to find out that everything that you thought entitlement was going to give you, you actually will get moving this way. God bless, fam. We'll catch y'all same time next place, and we will have the major gauge back in full effect with the family. Meanwhile,
Definitely.
y'all know what to do. Like, share, subscribe. Tell somebody to tell somebody. Hit the likes. Blow us up. It's back your direction, Ant.
Yeah, so thank you. Well said, Drake. We definitely going to have Major back. Let him tell us his 1 week story. So y'all tune in for that next week. We're definitely going to have another great topic again. Hope you guys love the entitlement conversation and showing you the different levels of entitlement in every aspect of life. And just like Bobby was saying, man, get rid of that attitude, get rid of that energy. 2024 and beyond is supposed to be something positive and great. Let's get into the healthy mindset, the healthy way of thinking and living, and everything else will fall in place. That's the energy that we want and we're putting out there. That's the energy that Manifestations bring. That's what we bring. So we definitely see you guys next week. All right. Peace out, everybody. But before we go, one more time, before we go, Bobby.
Those puppets are almost as funny as the tattoo, man.
All right, so we just want to get up out of here. So peace out. See y'all next week.
Yay.
On the album, we do things like songs that are a little, what we call sexy. You can see from the title, it's more of a love album.